Okay, so I want to welcome everyone out to the first Family Search gig meeting. Want to remind people that to participate in the gigs, you need to be a paid member of the Indian River Genealogical Society. If you haven't paid your dues, just go to the webpage, pull down the form and fill it out. It's $25 for the year, so it's not a bad deal. And you'll get access to all of the all of the gig recordings as well as not just Family Search, but all the other ones that are available on the IRGS website. So I know that Mike brought in some of his Midwest gig people today to learn a little bit about Family Search, and that's great to have them here. One of the things I'm doing, we had originally sent this out to the German gig mailing list, just because that was the one I had. I'm transitioning that over to a Family Search mailing list. And so right now what I've done is those people who have contacted me by email today and said, I want to be added to the list, you're added to the Family Search gig email list. And those who have confirmed their registration or the meeting invite are added to that list also. So if you didn't do that, you please email me or just confirm on the invite, and I will add you into a Family Search gig email list, and we're going to gradually shift from that German gig list to the Family Search list. So hopefully that made sense to everybody. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to start out with a little free form with Family Search. I want to get a good idea of how many of you are actively using Family Search and how many of you are somewhat using it, trying to figure out what it is, and then how many of you are not using it. So if you can just raise your hand if you are using Family Search on a regular basis. Okay. And how many of you are using it, but you're somewhat lost? Okay. And how many of you aren't using it at all? Okay. Well, I do hope that we'll get some of you, I hope we get some people joining us that don't use it so that they can get an idea of what Family Search is and how it's helpful in their research. And so since you all are using Family Search somewhat, I assume all of you have active accounts on Family Search. You've done the registration and you know your username and your password. Biggest problem people have, they come in, I run the Family History or the new Family Search Center. Now it's called, it's no longer a Family History Center. We just changed the names this week. So I run that and I'm there on Wednesday nights from 6 to 8 o'clock. And people always come in and they're like, I have an account on Family Search. How do I get into it? And so we have to work on recovering your accounts. Okay. So what I would suggest for everybody is that in your accounts, make sure you set up a mobile phone number, your cell number, and your email address, because those are the ways you're going to get the hints to figure out your account. We have some people are like, oh, I set that up on my landline. Well, that won't work. You're not going to get a text message on your landline with your reset feature. So make sure that you've got the right email and right phone number in there so you can recover your account. And once you have that, it's really simple to recover your account. So I'm going to share the screen. And let's see. So everybody's pretty familiar with this, right? You know all about Family Search. And I got to move some stuff over so that I can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to share another screen here, and this is the Family History Guide. Okay. Now, have you guys seen the Family History Guide before or know about it? If you don't know about it, that's fine. I'm the education director for the Family History Guide. It's a nonprofit organization. But if you notice up here at the top, it has Family Search. So these are all lessons that you can access to learn how to use Family Search more effectively. So if I go into the family tree, you can see there's a lesson here on navigating the tree and running through the basics of how to access the family tree. But you also have things like viewing details, children and spouses, find recents, alternate views, and so on and so forth. So if I go to memories, you see there's a series of lessons up here also about memories. And I can do the same thing for descendants. And you'll see that there's several different lessons here on descendants. So I just want to show you this because this is an easy way to go in and learn how to access and use Family Search that you can access on your free time. So I hope that that's easy enough for you to use. Now, Family Search changes their webpage occasionally, so you'll see new things that pop up. When you first get into Family Search, you see this thing up here, find your family and discover yourself. So this is for somebody who hasn't yet started Family Search and they want to just see what's in here. And you can go in and get started by adding some information about your family. Of course, there's the piece here about Roots Tech, which is coming up March 2nd through the 4th. I'm a Roots Tech influencer this year. I'm not a speaker this year, but on my blog, I do have a link to multiple contests that are going on for free tickets to Roots Tech. So if you're going in person, you may want to visit my blog. It's Miles Genealogy at blogspot.com. And I'll just pull it up here. And you can go down, you can click here to win the ticket that I'm giving away. And then here's a set of other contests where you can register for those also. So you have a chance of winning multiple tickets for Roots Tech. And Roots Tech is sponsored by Family Search. And there's a lot of lessons, a lot of talks going on about how to use Family Search at Roots Tech. And there's also exposition hall displays and so on. Of course, the 1950 census is now available. So you can do a quick search to see if your family's in there. And then there's other things that you can do about discovering Family Search. Family Search also has community experts. And if you go in and you can connect with an expert, let's see, the FM page is really small. Can I enlarge? I'm not sure. I've got the, are you talking about the text? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, there we go. So you can go into the communities and you can join groups in the community. So there's Family Search Help, there's Suggest Ideas, but there's also groups. And you can see like the latest things that are going on about indexing. Is there help available? Help to figure out a name, things of that sort. If I go into groups, I'm going to sign in just so that I'm logged into it so you can see what happens. Okay, so now I'm in the groups. I can click on groups. I can look at my groups, but I'm going to click on groups here. And these are basically chat boards. So you can figure out what type of group you want to be associated with. There's adoption, there's Africa, some family groups, there's Asia, Australia, different types of groups that are available. So if you're doing research in Canada or British Isles, you can click on that British Isles research group, and then you'll be in the chat area to talk to people about the British Isles. So you can see there's a 1921 census, welcome new members, and then discussions. And if you post a question in the discussions, they usually get answered pretty quickly. Okay, so this is a great way to be helped. You can see all the members that are joined up in this group. And if I go back, you can see how many members are in each group. So you can see there's 968 users. There's almost 400 chats. There are some team groups that are unlocked and some that are locked. So depending on if they're public, this one here is locked. But most of them are open, so you can get into those. So if you're researching China or Germany or another country, you can go in and see if there's a group available. They will help you do translations. They will help you find records. They'll help you just do any type of research that you have that you're interested in. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Family Search, and you can join those groups. And if you join them, you can have those chats delivered to your email if you want, or you can just visit them on occasion. So I will zoom in on the Family Search website here. So I've logged in, and when you first come into Family Search, you have this button up here about try the new homepage features. I can turn that off, and you'll see the homepage the way it used to look. So I'll wait for it to load. They usually have an advertisement up here about things that are coming up. They have volunteer opportunities. They have your hints. In Ancestry, these would be your shaky leaves. In Family Search, they're the little square boxes, the little blue boxes. Over here, you can see that other people are adding photographs or records to your to the people that are related to you. Over here in the recent people, you can see the people that have been added or that you've been working on recently. So you can see the last person I worked on was Christoph August Reiking, 1859 to 1934. But I have some Reithmans that I've been working on. And if you click see more, you can see more and continue that down. And then you have your to-do list. Some of us are good about putting items in your to-do list and checking them off, and some people are not. So, if I've done this, I can then check it off. I can check the box so that I've done it, and I can delete it with using the red X. Or if I have a new item, I can go in here and add an item. So sometimes the things are like, I'm working on a surname, so I can find some surnames in a certain town. I might want to go back and research that. Or if I'm working on an individual in Family Search, I might want to put in there what I was doing the last time I worked on it, so I can keep track of where I am on that record. Okay, and then I can show my recently completed items. So I fixed this person's family. I've clicked on it. I can now delete it off of that list, and it goes into this recently completed items, and I can hide that information. Okay. So this front page is just a really good page to see where you are in your research. Are there any clues and hints and things? If you look at the new home features, just turn on that button. And now you see the new design. Okay. It's fairly similar. It's just got a different layout. Family Search is going through a change in their process right now. So because they are adding more countries, to access specifically for more countries. So countries like China and Japan, the Asian countries that have a different alphabet, Family Search had to make some adjustments to allow for that alphabet to be used in this, and it caused some changes in everybody else's pages also. So I just wanted to, run through some of that basic stuff. because a lot of people don't pay a whole lot of attention to that front page. So I want to pull up everybody's screens here. Was there anything new that I showed you guys from that front page that you haven't used or hadn't noticed before? Or is that all stuff that you already are familiar with?
I didn't know about the groups, so I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the community groups are really helpful. You know, it's basically the old chat boards that we all used to use in the past. So what are the things in Family Search that are of most interest to you all as, you know, users of Family Search? What are the things that are giving you the biggest problems, or that you find the most helpful, that we can then, you know, incorporate those into tips later? So Janet.
Yeah, I have a problem because whenever I do the family search, I get a lot of census information and I'm so bored with it that I don't even, you know, I kind of drop it, you know, but I didn't see how you got in those groups, and I was looking all over. I didn't see the tab for groups. If you could later maybe go through it again.
So if I click on the Family Search logo, you know, that sends me right back to this home screen here, you know, that I'm in. Now let me pull over here, and this is it's different from this screen, and I'm just going to look to see if it's at the bottom of the screen or if it's not, just to make sure. Yeah, okay, so it's not. So what I have to do is I'm going to minimize these guys. I'm going to log out and go to the first Family Search screen again. Okay. So when you're not logged in, if you go down to the bottom, you see where it says connect with an expert. If I clicked on that one there, it will load up this web page called community.familysearch.org.
Oh, so you can't be logged in.
So you can be logged in, and I'll show you what happens when you're logged in, but I was just showing you where that came from. I want to log in again. Okay. And if you're doing this at home, you can keep yourself logged in for up to 2 weeks. You don't want to do that at the library though. So now I'm back on this website again, but if I go in, if I type community.familysearch.org and hit enter, I go right to that page. Okay, so it's community.familysearch.org.
Got it.
And, you know, if you look in here, you can see my discussions. I don't use this very often, but I do it for a couple groups. But if you go into my groups, you can see which groups I'm a member of. And you can see British Isles, Engaging Youth, England, Family Bible Records, Family History Meet and Greet, Family History Research Strategies, the Family Tree. These are private groups that I'm involved in with the tech support and running the family history libraries. Germany, Ireland, Let's Do Good Together, you know, and so on and so forth. So those are just some of the groups that I'm involved in here. So, okay. Does that help you out?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I'm going to go back out to Family Search again. The biggest problem I have with Family Search is it opens a new window every time you click on something. So I end up with thousands of windows sitting there opened up. Anybody else have any? I've got the census records, and I'll show you guys how to fix that problem as we go into a search process. Are there any other things that people would like to learn more about? Yeah, Evie.
Yeah, so I've been using it for a while, and I mainly go to the catalog and I look for towns or whatever. But I found, and I was just looking at my own page to see, I'm not quite sure how I got there, but I got to this like genealogy collections
Ah, yes.
page, and I went there, and it's genealogies, and then it's community trees.
Mhm. Yep.
And there were some that I was interested in, but when I click on them, it wants me to tell them a specific person. It's like I can't search. There's like 5,000 people in this whatever,
Yeah.
but I can't search it unless I know the specific person and date. I'm like, well, if I knew that,
Yeah. Okay.
you know.
So we'll do a couple of those. So, okay, let's start out. We've got three things here that we can talk about. We'll start out with the census record issue, and I'm going to minimize this again. So when you're in Family Search, if you go up to search records, this is what's going to search the billions of records that are available on Family Search, the ones that are available that are indexed at least. So I'm not going to put a first name in here, and I'm just going to put a last name in. Okay, and I'm not going to put a place and birth date right now. I want to get a whole lot of results. Now, of course, I put a name that's not very common, but it's the one I do a lot of research on. And so I'm going to get results from people that just have that last name or similar last names. Now, of course, down here, you can put in more options. You know, you can add birth, arrange for birth years, residence, marriage, death. You can add spouses, parents, other people that they may be associated with, or you can add more specific things about like location, record type. So if I type record type, now I can go in and say, I only want birth, baptism, and christening records, or I only want census records or immigration records. So right here, I'm able to say, okay, I'm tired of seeing those census records. Let me look for other things, specifically immigration and naturalization. And it's going to give me a smaller result. And then I can do exact searches only. Okay. So I'm just going to go in. I want a broad search. I'm going to click on this. I can do alternate names. So let's say that somebody's name was Christopher, but they went by Chris, or somebody's name was Donald Robert, but they went by Bob. I can type in that alternate name and put that in here. I can put a married name in here. So if you're looking for a female, you can put her maiden name in here and the married name in the alternate name list. Okay, so it gives you ability to make those sort of changes to the request. I'm going to hit search, and of course you're going to get the records coming up initially that are the most common. I get 805,000 records. Okay, so I end up with these different censuses for the Netherlands. I've censuses for Mississippi or Missouri, censuses in Ohio, and you see all of these census records pop up. Now, I'll show you a couple things here that are helpful. This little page gives me my record details. So this is what's been indexed from that page. This screen here gives me a view of the image. Now, there's a difference between this little camera with a page and this camera here, okay? You're probably used to seeing this camera here. This camera with the page, when I click on view that image, it's going to send me to another database. So you'll notice this one sends me to Open Archives, which is the Dutch archives. And then here's the census record that I can look up. So when you see that page, it's just saying that this is not a holding of Family Search. This is a third party that has this record, and we're going to send you to their webpage. Okay. And then you have this little tree, and this little tree tells you that this record is already attached to somebody in Family Search. So you see this record is not attached to somebody. You see all those little trees. And I probably won't find one with a person. If you see one with a little person, that one tells you that Family Search believes they know who that person belongs to or that record belongs to, but it hasn't been connected yet. And like I said, I may not find one of those because I've been working on a lot of these, hooking them up. Okay. So, but I've got all these census records. I don't want census records. These buttons up here, these gray buttons, give me the opportunity to narrow my search. So I can go into collections, and now you notice it gives me, there's 4 census records from Alabama. There's 18 from Alabama, 1855, 1866. There's 54 from Alabama here. I can show all of the different records, different census records or voting records that this person might be, this name might be in. Okay. But if I'm not interested in census records, you know, I don't want to see all of these. I don't know how many, there's 13,000, almost 14,000 there. So I don't want to see those. Okay. So I can get out of those and say, I only want to see the births, marriages, and deaths. Well, there's 11,000 or 1,100 sets of records. And if I want to see just those in Ohio, I just have to go down to Ohio. Of course, I'll do this quickly because Ohio's down at the bottom. See, even though this is an uncommon name, there's a lot of records. Here we go. So Ohio, and I went births, christenings, death index, death burials, marriage records. And I'm going to say I'm going to apply those to my search. So now I can see those sets of records that I chose. And now I can see the records that are linked to those categories. If I go back and say, I really don't want to see this one here, I can just hit X and then that one disappears. You know, I can show, you know, all of the records I'm now searching through. Okay. So Janet, does that answer part of your question? You're on mute. You're on mute.
I'm amazed that this just 5 minutes, I have such a better insight into Family Search. And
Great, great.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna have fun tonight. I won't be sleeping.
yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can filter those records and, you know, modify your searches to make them, you know, more effective. You can hit the preferences also, and you can see that it'll show you different ways to see your results. So, you know, if I want the fixed table like this, or if I want a data sheet, if I change this to data sheet, I can customize it. And I can pick what information I want shown in the results. Okay. So, you know, I can turn off some of these or turn on these. If it's in a foreign language, I can get it in the original language. I can download this to an XLS file or a CSV file. So this would be an Excel file, and I can export those results. So now I've got an Excel spreadsheet that I can go through with whatever headings I want in this. So notice when we said that customized data sheet, I'm going to close this preferences, and I'm going to close the search terms here. If I scroll over, there we go. I can scroll over. Whoops. Close. Give it a second here. So I can scroll over. You see all these other fields that are available for me to see. And then you have the name over here. So this is stuff you don't, you know, if you're just looking at the search term, this is what you see and you're like, well, that's nice, but you know, I don't see the parents. Well, I can go into that customized sheet and tell it to, you know, not show me the marriage records, the residences or things like that. Or I can just go back to the fixed table. And now when you see the fixed table, this is what you get: the name, usually birth and death, and then the parents. Okay. So Family Search has made it so that you can customize almost every single screen that you see within it to find the things that you're looking for specifically. Okay. You can go back in. I'm going to, you know, close out these. And, you know, you'll see that they change. If I want to go in, I can just go in and filter by sex. So you see here that there's 578 males, 482 females, and there's unknowns. I can select that. If race is a specific criteria you're looking for, birth by country. So by year, you know, I can go in and say, I only want the 1900s. Same thing for marriage. You get place and year. Death, same thing. Residence, same thing. You know, residence, place. So all of those things can narrow your searches down to help you find your results more effectively. Waiting for the page to load back up here. There we go. Let me get rid of that one also. Okay. So now you see these with the family trees on them. If I click on that family tree, it's going to send me right to the person that it's connected to. So now I can see, you know, the information that's already in here. And of course, you can see that I added a lot of this information. Now, this is the new way the page looks. You know, if I go back to the previous version. So you can see in the previous version, it had the person's name, their profile picture, the life sketch, the vitals, you know, birth, christening, death, burial, the locations and customized activities, the person's name, any children they may have had. Now, I'm going to go back so that we have a person who actually has some more information in it. So that you can see how these pages change. So Philomena. Okay. So again, up top, we have the sources, the collaborate, the memories. Memories, if I click on that, it shows me all the newspaper articles that I've added to her record. So you see, you know, here's her obituary. Here's one of her relatives' obituary that she's referenced in. You know, here's another obituary for a relative that she's referenced in, and so on and so forth. Here's a marriage record for her and that information. I can also go in and look at all the sources that are attached. You know, if I put a date in here, I can edit the date and add the dates in. So this ends up chronological order. I can see details, you know, more information about each record. I have options here that I can drag them and drop them into my own custom order if I want, or leave them in chronological order. Whatever you do to it, it's only what you do. That's you see it. So, you know, we had the vital information. We had alternate names. We have residences, and then we have her her and her husband and their kids, and then her parents and her siblings over here. So that's what the page used to look like. And then over here, we have all of our search criteria and different things. And we'll get into all of those later. But if I go into the new person's page, a lot of people don't like this because it ends up in 2 columns. So you see here, we have the name, the sex, the birth, christening, death, and burial. The same information. It's just now it's left to right, left to right, left to right, as opposed to up to down. Okay. And then the same thing for the other information. We have left to right all the way across, and then the residences, and then her and her husband and children, and then her and her parents and siblings. So what do you think? Do you like the 1 column where it has everything, you know, down in chronological order, or do you like the left to right? Any opinions? Chronological, so up from top to bottom. Okay. Well, let me go down here to settings. My layout settings are in your tools. So in your layout settings, I can do this as single column. Notice it's now chronological, birth, christening, death, burial, instead of the double column side to side. I can also grab, if I want the family members up front, I can move them and drop them. So now I have the chronological information. I'll put it in this way. And now I have the family information. And then I have the alternate names and the residences. Now there's a new piece to Family Search. It's called Other Relationships. Does anybody have any idea what that might be? How many of you do fan research, the friends, associates, neighbors research? I can go in here and I can add another relationship, and it's apprenticeship, employment, enslavement, godparents, household, neighbors, relatives. I have all of these different categories. So if somebody lives next to somebody, you can put that neighbor's name in there. And now that neighbor is tied to your family. And so when you're doing research, you can then say, oh, that neighbor moved. Okay, I can record that information. Or if they worked for somebody, you can put in there their employment and you can tell who they worked for. So you can track those sort of associations. Other relatives, you know, were there other relatives that they had that don't show up really quick, really easily? Maybe you all of a sudden in a census, you found that a grandparent was living in the house. Well, you can add that grandparent in there and you can say, you know, they were living in that house in the 1920 census. So this allows you the opportunity to develop up that fan network that a lot of people talk about in their research. And then we have the life history down here. This is where you add your bio. So, you know, it's brief. It's 10,000 characters. And then with a 2,000 character explanation. So this is a brief life history. So, you know, maybe you want to take that information. I'll give you an example. I have a blog called Our Ancestries, which are the stories of my ancestors. And so I could take this blog and I could copy this information, bring it right over here to this life history, and I can paste it in here. And now I've got a life history for that individual. So I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to go back to my double column and I'm going to move my family members back down to the bottom where I like to see them, and then close that feature. So how many of you knew about that feature there? Does that make it helpful for you when you're looking at your pages? To be able to lay them out and customize them the way that you want them customized? Okay. And then we have about 15 or 20 minutes left. The other question we had for today was the genealogies. So I'm going to go up here to search. And here you have the genealogies search. Let's see. So search genealogies. Now, everything that's in Family Search that we just looked at is a community project. Anybody can change, edit, add to, communicate with a contributor. Whatever you want to do can be done to that information. Okay, so I really like that fact because I can go in and I can correct somebody's mistake. Let's say they have the wrong information in there and I want to go in, they put 1920 as the birth date. Well, that's nice. That's based on a census, but I know it was January 15th, 1920. So I can put that in. All of that is customizable, editable, and can be modified. The genealogies, on the other hand, are static. They cannot be modified at all. And there are a variety of different types of genealogies that are here. So if I go in, the first thing is community trees. This says high data accuracy. Okay, these are research efforts to gather and publish genealogies for entire towns or communities. So let's say that there was a researcher who did all of the church books within a community, and they put those church books into a tree. That's the sort of thing that is available here in this community trees. And you can view all the trees in this collection. So we'll do that real quick here. And you'll see all of these. So there's Welsh, there's, the United States, there's Lincoln, Star Valley, Lincoln, Wyoming. There's Logan County, West Virginia. Okay, I can go in here and I can type in Florida. Well, let's do that. Let's go by location. Florida, United States. There are no trees for Florida. Okay, but we know there are trees for West Virginia. Okay, so this is the difference, and you'll learn this also, difference between location and keyword. I'm going to do Florida. There's none. Okay. West Virginia. There we go. So later on, when we talk about searches and catalog searches, remember to ask that question about the difference between location and keyword. And we'll do that. But you can see here, there are just these two, Logan County and Jackson County. So this is the Jackson County Pioneers. I can click on this. There's 99,000 people in here, and I can put in a last name. We'll just see if there's any pioneers named Jones. And there we go. So here's Luther Cleveland Jones. So he is one of the pioneers. There's 519 people by the name of Jones within this tree. And I'm just going to click on Samuel Jones. And now I see his information and I see his tree. And I can zoom in on this tree. I can click on him. I can see his information here. I can click on his wife. I can see her information here. It just tells me that this is a part of a community tree. There's a source for it. There's a federal census and no information there. If I go to Samuel, again, a federal census. If I go to Milo, I get his, basic birth information and so on. I have options. I can look at portraits. I can invert colors. If I invert colors, it's black to white as opposed to gray to black. I like doing it this way sometimes because it's easier on your eyes, but it all depends on how you like it. So notice this is a very small tree. Okay, not a whole lot of information, but it's a community tree and it's available through that research. Now, when we go back to community trees, I'm going to go back out to the community trees. Genealogies. Okay, the next one is oral genealogies. So they have teams around the world that are collecting oral genealogies, like in Africa and Oceania, from the tribal communities there. And they're gathering that information and then putting it into trees. So it's being told to them through the oral traditions of those communities. We have computer generated trees. This is moderate data accuracy. So what's happening here is there's an AI, artificial intelligence in the family search database that is going through and it's automatically indexing handwritten records and typed records. So it's taking the typed records, doing OCR, optical character recognition, it's taking the handwritten records and it's doing handwriting recognition, and it's interpreting that and making it into data. So if you see a census record, it says, here's the head of household, here's the wife, here's the children. It sees that, it says, I have a family tree. I have a husband, a wife, and children. Now, if it says a mother-in-law, it says, okay, here's a mother-in-law. So this is the wife's mother. And so it's taking these data pieces. And then it says, I found this in the 1950 census, but in the 1920 census, I also found that husband and wife and those children. And then there's more information. I can add more relatives. So it's building the tree based on the genealogy records. Okay, so that's why it's a moderate data accuracy. There's nobody checking that for accuracy. The computer is putting it together. Then you have this Guild of One Name Studies, and you've probably heard of the Guild of One Name Studies. They do research, they build their own trees. So it's unknown data accuracy, but it is their data, the Guild of One Name Studies. We also have partner trees. So My Trees has records, and so it's grabbed those. It also grabs trees from like GeniaNet and other companies and brings those in. Unknown data accuracy. Here's Roots Finder. Again, the same thing. American Ancestors, it's the tree that's being built on American Ancestors. The pedigree resource files, these are the old GEDCOM files that were done in PATH many, many years ago. Ancestral files, these are the old pedigree sheets that people contributed. So you remember those long pedigree sheets, people would fill them out and they would send them to Salt Lake, and then those would be added to the records. And then the IGI, if you're an old researcher, you know about those microfiche that we used to have in the Family History Center. Those are the IGIs, the indexes for genealogy records. So all of those are available. So you can view the different types of trees that are in the collection, or you can search for a person. Again, if you're searching for a person, you might want to see if, you know, their last name is there, then narrow it down, put a first name and see what the tree looks like. If I go to the pedigree resource file, I'm just going to type in Meyer. I'm going to do a quick search. I'm going to get a lot of hits. I'm just going to grab one. I don't care who it is. This one's in Germany. And again, I will see his tree here. And I can zoom in on it. I can expand it. See if there's anything out beyond this. And there's some more tree. Okay, I can select a person. I can see their information here onto the side. So basically, this is like looking at Ancestry and seeing an ancestry tree. You can't modify it. You're just seeing what they have. You're able to say, that looks good. It's a good hint for me to follow up on while I'm doing my research. Okay. So I'm going to go back and get you guys back up here again. So that answers those three questions. I hope that answers those three questions that you guys had. And I hope that that gives you guys something to think about as you're, you know, running through and doing your research in Family Search. Do you guys have any questions about those things that I just showed you? Or any comments?
Really interesting.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Okay. So in the chat. Okay. So As we go through, we're going to get into more difficult stuff. We'll get into the basics of how to add a person that's not related to you, or it is related to you, but you don't know where. We can add individuals and we can start their little bushes growing until they connect up to the tree. We'll get into things about how to make your search, your record search more effective. There are some very complex things like merging families. So if anybody runs across a family that they're not comfortable with merging, and you want to bring it up, all you have to do is record the PID numbers. The PID numbers are those 7-digit letters that come right after the person's name. And we can run through those and I can show you how to fix that problem. So we can do hands-on. Every time we do this, it'll be hands-on with Family Search. So, if you have another screen, you can always be running Family Search off to the side while I'm talking about things, so you can figure out how to run, how to do that while I'm explaining it. And if you can't figure it out, we're recording it. So at the end, if you want to go back to that section of the recording, just mark down about what time we were talking about that, go back to the recording, and then find that information at that point and see if you can follow those step-by-steps. I have been told I do things very quickly. And if I do things too quickly, just tell me and I will try to slow it down. But I want to make sure that what we're doing is helpful to you on Family Search. A lot of people get frustrated about Family Search, the frequency of the changes on the pages, the other people going in and modifying things that are correct. I find things that I've done wrong. I'm not going to guarantee that everything I do is right, but generally what I try to do is I back it up with a source and a record, and I show where that source and that record are so that I can say, this is why I've changed that date. The other day, somebody put, let's just say 3 July 1949 as a date on Find a Grave. But the Find a Grave, the gravestone says 1949. So where did they get that 3 July 1949? I don't know. But if I look at his death certificate, it says 10 July 1949. I'm going to go with the death certificate before I'm going to go with a date somebody just put on Find a Grave. And so I'll put in there death certificate attached, indicates that it's this date. My great grandfather has 6 different birth dates, depending on what record I look at. 3 different years. All of them are December, but there's also multiple different days in December. So multiple different days, multiple different years, they're all December. So which one do I use? They'll use his birth record, his baptism record, his death record, his obituary, his, marriage record, his social security record, military, they're all different. So I put one in and I explained it. Okay. So any questions?
I think I have a quick one. On your search, there was an exact match checkbox. Does that mean if I'm looking for my Ford family and I check exact match, I do not get all the Ashfords and Bradfords and Crawfords, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, it will narrow it down and it will give you that spelling that you're requesting. Now, if I'm searching, my Garmin family, in Germany, they have 2 N's. In the United States, most of them have 1 N. So I would lose those 2 N Garmins in Germany, or the ones in the US that kept the 2 N in their last name. So yeah, be careful about that because, you've seen different spellings of the name in a census record, they write it differently. You won't get those if you click the direct or the exact match, or you won't get them as frequently.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope our first hour of Family Search gig was helpful for everybody. We'll start with the basics. We'll get into the really complex stuff. There are billions of records that you can't search by name. So how do you go through those? I'll show you guys how to work those later. There's a lot of different stuff to do on Family Search. So, and, even if I start out with one topic, if you guys have questions, we'll switch the direction, to whatever is necessary to make sure that we address the issues of the day.
Niles, where will we find this recorded? Where will it be located?
So Mike, do you want to explain where it's found on the website once I upload it and give it to you?
Actually, I can take that.
Okay.
Under you have to log in because it's only available to members. So you would log in, and then under the members only tab, there is already a family search gig. And if you go there, it will be put up there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop recording.